everyone, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 1 of From Hope to Glory at Truro City with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. So loads to go through today. We've had a summer transfer window, so lots of dealings to talk about. We've got a new tactic that we're going to be implementing this season. We've got a game against Eastleigh coming up. We are back in the Vanarama National League for this season, having not quite got promoted through the playoffs last year. So let's see if we can do better this time round. So welcome back in. As I say, we've had a summer transfer window, which was a little bit tricky for a number of different reasons that we'll get to. We do have a game against Eastleigh today. They're predicted to finish about 9th in this year's league. We're predicted currently to finish about 6th. I will happily take another playoff spot, to be honest, to just see if we can do better that time round than we did last time round, really. If we could get automatic promotion, that would be amazing. I think that might be a little bit beyond us. There has been quite a lot of change at the club over the summer, and some of it not really because I wanted it to happen, but we'll get to that as we take a closer look at all the transfer dealings from the last couple of months. So let's start with the released players in terms of those we got rid of. There's a load of names here, and a lot of them are youngsters that didn't quite make the grade. But there's about 8 or 9 first team squad members in here, the likes of River Allen, and further down, people like Aaron Jones, Kian Ayari, George Rounsfell, Ben McKenna. They've all left the club being released through contract issues or not having quite the standard that I want as we move forward. We've had some free transfers come in we'll talk about. So let's go to all transfers. We have let some players go as well. The two main ones, the bottom 3 are all youngsters out on loan. The two main ones, Lewis Richards, who was one of our left backs from last season, with Rounsfell, who's already left the club. So you see we've been doing some business in the fullback area. He left the club to go to Exeter. Didn't quite have what I was looking for long term. And the big one, unfortunately, not my decision, but ultimately the only reason we got Callum Doyle into the club in the first place is if we gave him a release clause in his contract, and Blackpool came in and they met the release clause. Unfortunately, there was nothing I could do about it. I didn't want this guy to leave the club. He was very, very good, but he was basically too good, and he's now moved up a couple of divisions. I think if we go and look at Blackpool, they are in the Championship. So he's gone from the Vanarama National League to the Championship. He was really, really too good for us, wasn't he? But he left the club, so that means that we had to do an awful lot of stuff to just find a way to plug the gaps. We didn't quite get anybody in that was as good as him, but what I think we've done is improved the side quite a bit overall. So let's go and have a look at some of our transfer dealings in terms of those that we bought in. So if we start from top to bottom, there's no particular order through these. Sam Knowles, you remember we had in the club last season on loan. I think, his contract ended in the summer, so we basically got him on a free transfer, so he stays in the club. Gary De Souza, he comes in. He's a left-sided winger. He's going to play in the attacking left wing position, and he's got 12 crossing, 12 dribbling. Determination is fantastic. 14 flair, pace 13, acceleration 15, work rate in there, teamwork. He's going to be a really, really useful player for us, I think, once he's settled in. And he's definitely better than what we already had at the club. So he comes into the starting lineup. We've also got this guy on loan from Swansea, Daniel Williams, coming in, and he can cover basically both, mostly the Metzala role, but he could play the Carolero role if we really, really needed him to. But he's come in to play in that Metzala role in rotation with Mundell. So Daniel Williams comes into the club. Next one down is Nick Rogers. Now, originally, I bought Nick Rogers in to play in that central defensive role that we'd lost because of Callum Doyle. But then partway through the transfer window, I realised that he could play right fullback as well in a defensive right fullback kind of role, and actually was pretty good at it, and much better than what we had. It was one of our problem positions, if you remember. So I switched him over. Nick Rogers will now play in that fullback role for me. and that left an opening for another central defender to come in. We'll get to him in a minute. DiMaggio Wright Phillips. He is a relation to Bradley Wright Phillips. He's probably his son, I guess. I don't actually know, if I'm honest, but he's within that family, and he comes in on the right side to add competition to places with Sam Knowles down that right-hand side, and Wright Phillips will get the starting berth at the beginning of the season, and then we'll see them fight it out and see who ends up there at the end of the season. But Wright Phillips comes in down that right-hand side of the midfield. Ed McJanet, what a great name, Ed McJanet, comes in as a fairly young player on loan from Luton, 19 years old. Really good striker though in here for the level that we're at. 14 finishing, composure is 13, 15 pace, off the ball is 14. Really, really good attributes, as I say, for a young striker at the level that we want him to play. And we haven't released any of our strikers, so that might tell you a little bit about how we're lining up this season, but as I say, more about that as we progress. Josh Casey comes in on a free transfer, adds a little bit of experience to the squad. We've got quite a lot of youngsters. At 31, he'll come in and just be a little bit of a calming influence on them. 16 leadership. He comes in as my vice captain. And he's going to be the rotation option at left fullback. You can see that his pace isn't the best, unfortunately, but 12 crossing, 12 tackling, and stamina is good to get up and down the pitch. Work rate is high, all those kinds of things that I look at when I'm looking for a fullback. So he comes in as the rotation option and the left fullback position. And Regan Dunlan comes in from Grimsby Town, and he's 27 years old, and he's going to be my first choice in the left fullback position. I think he's just a more rounded player, even though his tackling and crossing, it may not be quite as high. It says he can play as an attacking winger as well, but we're going to play him in the fullback role because he can play most places down the left-hand side. So he's going to be our starting fullback, and he's got a fair amount about him, really great determination, decent enough pace and acceleration. Again, work rate is really strong. The technical side of his game is not too bad. There's a few gaps here and there, as there are going to be with all of these players, but overall, not a bad left fullback, and he will get the starting position. And then Casey and him, where's Casey? There he is. Those two will fight it out for the rest of the season. The next one in is Declan Bucock, and he comes in on loan again from Oxford. And he is going to cover the Carrilero position. He's not going to cover it. He's going to play the Carrilero position for us. At 19 years of age, I think this is going to be a good player for us as well. Fantastic tackling and passing. Position is decent. Decisions, concentration are good. A reasonable amount of pace. So I think he's going to be quite useful for us in that particular role. So Declan Bucock comes in and plays the Carrilero role. And one other, and that is Alex Whitmore, who we bought in from Fylde, and he comes in to play in that central defensive area. Now, what I would say about him compared to Callum Doyle is that he hasn't quite got the tackling rating that Callum Doyle had, and a couple of other bits and pieces, but he's better in the air. Aerially, he's decent enough, and I think, again, what we've got is an all-round decent central midfield player. So overall, I'm really happy with what we've done in the transfer market. Some of it forced on us, some of it I wanted to reinvent anyway, and so we'll just have to see now how they bed in together. So we have changed our tactic for this particular season. It's one that we played a little bit last season, but not a lot. But there is one specific reason why I wanted to play this tactic. Now, it won't work out immediately this way, but primarily I really wanted to see if I could get a team sheet with both Neil and our other striker from last season, Ball, on the team sheet together. So I wanted to play 2 up top, and that meant reverting to a 4-4-2. And the other reason for that is that I just felt the options in our attacking midfield role were beginning to be a little bit tired in terms of comparative to others in the side. I don't think they're as good. And the only one that we've got left is Harvey, just because he's a fantastic servant to the club. And we want to have the opportunity to play the 4-2-3-1 given the right circumstance if we need to. But you can just see that his physical attributes are not quite as good as you'd want them to be. Everything else is pretty good, and he will get some game time, possibly playing central midfield, possibly playing striker occasionally. But overall, I just wanted to change it up a little bit this season and do something a little bit different. And so we have gone to the 4-4-2, but the reason it won't work out in terms of getting Ball and Neil on the team sheet is that you've already seen down here is that Charlie Ball in the pre-season has picked up an injury, and it's quite a big injury. He's torn an abdominal muscle. He was due to be out for about 2 to 3 months. He's already had some of that time already. So currently it's between 5 weeks and 2 months that he's out. So we're unlikely to see him, considering we're sitting in early October, probably until January, I wouldn't have thought. But we'll have to wait and see. By the time he gets fully back to fitness, it's going to be pushing the new year, I would imagine, unless he has some form of miraculous recovery very quickly. Anyway, so he's out of action for quite a while, but McJanet is going to be a superstar for us, I think. And if we go and have a look at our friendly results, you'll see that he's already hit the ground running. He scored 3 in the first game, 1 in the next game, another in the following game, and another 2, I think it was. Oh, there's 2 in the next game, sorry. And then a final one against Weymouth. So he's scored, what's that, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goals in our friendly matches, and that's a really, really great start for him. So we're hoping for big things from him whilst we wait for Ball to come back, and then who knows who will in the end be the starting striker lineup, really. It might well be Ball and McJanet. We'll have to wait and see, but that's for another day. The rest of the squad takes shape, and now you can see that roughly what we've got in terms of our new players. We've got Rogers at right back, Whitmore and Dunlan in that defence as well, Bucock in central midfield, McJanet up top, and new wingers. There's quite a lot in our first 11 that has changed, but most of our first 11 from last season, if not all of them, have pretty much stayed in the club and dropped to our rotation 11. So you can see that we have improved the general squad depth, I think. And this starting lineup for us, I think there are better star ratings there than we had last season over the entire team. We just lack that one key star player in the central defence that we had last year. So just before we get into today's game and move on from the transfers, etc., there is one error that I made, and it is my error, and I hold my hands up to it, in that I did bring in quite a few loan players, and I got a bit confused because I had so many offers out for so many players in one go at one point in the summer window, trying to fill the gaps and find the right moves. And a few of them came back in a flurry and said, yes, okay, we'll go for it. And I was having such a problem filling some of these spots that I brought in a load of players on loan at roughly the same sort of time. And I bought in one too many for the rules in terms of what you can have in your match day squad. So unfortunately, all 6 of our loan players, they're allowed to be in the club, but they're not all allowed to be in the Vanarama National League squad for an individual match day. So one of them is always going to be missing, which is unfortunate because Williams potentially would have played instead of Mundell, maybe in the Metsala role as well. So that's unfortunate. It's my bad, my error, but we'll just have to get on with it. So there'll be some rotation of this squad. But the great thing is, at this level, we've now got really good alternatives, I think. If we look through this, the players that are not in the starting lineup, you've got the likes of Stavru, who's had a whole season for us before. Josh Casey, the new left back. We've got Mo Silla, who is a holding player in midfield, so he can play in that Carrilero role. Salam was our left winger choice for last season, so he's good enough. He got us into the playoffs last season. Horsewood and the likes of Charlie Ball are not in the starting lineup just at the moment. We've got Morgan, our starting right back from last season. Early, our starting central midfielder, with Knowles on the right. He was a starter last season. Harvey was a starter There's lots of players there that can come in and rotate in this 11 and provide good competition for places. And that's what I tried to do over the summer. And I think it's worked out. So that's the transfer business. We took a very, very brief look at how successful our friendly matches were over the summer, which is fantastic. We've seen the tactic has changed in terms of 4-4-2. We're in the custom wing play. In the balance, I'm not going to play balanced. I'm going to play positive. I'll go through the individual areas of this tactic just so you can have a look at it. I won't talk much through it. In possession, and then in transition, and then finally out of possession. You can pause those if you needed to look at it a bit more, but that's how we're going to play. One more thing before we go into today's game, and if we go into the league table, you can see that Ebbsfleet and Boston have already played a game. I don't know why, but they have. But if we go and check out the season preview, you can see that they have us predicted to finish 6th, but it is extraordinarily close. All the way from sort of 2nd through till 7th is very, very close together. So we'll have to do well to get into this playoff positions, but I think we can do it. And so do they, really, having given us a predicted finish of 6th this season. So we're in the Emirates FA Cup, we're in the FA Trophy, defending our title from last season, and we're also in the FPFL Trust Trophy, which is what used to be called the Scottish Challenge Cup, where they bring some other countries' teams in and allow them to participate. And we've got through a round of that already, and we've now got St Mirren in the next round. That's going to be really tricky, but that's coming up later in the season. So that's just an additional thing that we're playing this year. Anyway, enough of that. Everything's sorted. It's going to be an interesting season. I don't know how we're going to do in terms of the early days because there's lots of players to knit together. But let's see how we get on in our first game of the season. So, for the first game of the season against Ebbsfleet in the Vanarama National League, we have Roberts in goal, Rogers at right back, Dunlan at left back, Kazoo and Whitmore in central defence, Bucock and Mundell in central midfield, with Wright Phillips on the right, D'Souza on the left, and Neil and McJanet up top, with a bench of Stavru, Casey, Silla, Salam and Horsewood. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So we're going to try and get the players up and excited about playing this game. So we've pumped the fist and says, go out there and impress me. We're away from home, but it is a good opportunity to put down an early marker for the season. Our form in the friendlies was magnificent, which sometimes means that we sometimes get off to a slow start when the league actually shows up. But hopefully that's not the case and we can do the business today. All I'm really looking forward to seeing is how this 4-4-2 formation really works in the Vanarama National League compared to what we come up against. And you can see that today we're playing against a 4-4-2 against Eastleigh as well, but theirs is slightly different. They're playing a deep midfield player and a central midfield player with two slightly deeper wingers on the wide right and left as well. So quite a defensive version of it. We'll see how we get on, but a few attempts at goal in the first half, but we're almost at half time and nothing has happened at all. Well, there you go. That is almost the quickest half we've seen in a long time. A few shots at goal, 6 for Eastleigh and 5 for us, but only 1 and 2 on target respectively, and really poor XG ratings. We've had a decent amount of possession, but that's all you can really say about the first half, really, isn't it? We didn't do particularly anything of any great note. So outstretch the arms. We're going to say, no, we can't outstretch the arms. We're going to point the finger and say, I'm not happy with the performance out there. That's something that we need to change. And we're going to go into the tactics. Because Eastleigh have really done absolutely nothing either, we're just going to up it a little bit into the attacking mentality and go back out into the second half and shout and demand more on the entire side. And now we get an early highlight in the second half. Dunlan down the left-hand side, crosses the ball, gets blocked, has another chance, gets blocked again. And it's Whitmore that's going to pick up the loose ball in that central defensive area. And he puts a long ball over the top, but it gets cut out by Eastleigh and they get a chance to break on us themselves. And they've worked it very nicely. A header back from their striker into midfield just to hold up the play a little bit. A little bit of a loose ball there, but they still maintain possession. And they're looking to move it onto the wide right-hand side. They do with Armstrong. Drops it back again. They're playing a very nice, very steady passing game, and they have worked the ball really well. The cross comes in and they hit the woodwork, and we get it clear, to D'Souza, but ultimately he couldn't make the most of counter-attacking, and we were a little bit lucky. They worked the ball really, really nicely, and then at the end of it couldn't quite find a way through on goal. 2 goals, should I say. They hit the woodwork. Again, it's a right-hand side area throw-in for Eastleigh, and they're working it down that side again. A good block by Mundell. Worked his spot really well there. Gets the ball up to Neil, but he can't make it stick. And so far, it's been all a little bit toothless from us. And again, Eastleigh get the counter-attack, and again, they work it very nicely off a deep-lying forward player, it looks like, who drops in and holds the ball up. And again, they get the cross, but it's cut out. Dunlan clears really, really well. McJanet takes over and works his way down the right-hand side. Really fast run by McJanet. Crosses the ball into Neil. And there is Andrew Neil, the goal-scoring machine from last season, doing it again this season. And we take a 1-0 lead. And very, very nice it was too. So McJanet takes over on the central midfield kind of area, drifts over to the right-hand side, crosses from quite a way out. But Neil had found a way to lose his marker in the penalty box and makes no mistake on the finish, does he? Which was fantastic. About 69 minutes gone, we're just going to go in and check on the personnel. They shouldn't be too bad in their conditioning, but just a couple of average ratings that we need to change maybe. And again, it's in that defensive area. We've played so well through our friendly matches. I thought we'd solved some of the problems, but you can see that there are some really quite poor ratings in there today. Dunlan at a 6.4, Kazoo and Rogers at 6.5, not quite good enough. So we'll bring Casey on down the left-hand side, and we'll take Kazoo out because of his yellow card as well, and put Stavrou in. And we're going to switch Whitmore and Stavrou round just because how they play best. And then we're going to make one more change, and it's got to be in the wide area, hasn't it, really? So we've got Salam on the bench, and he's a left-sided player. So we'll bring D'Souza out, and we'll just see how that works out for the remaining 20 minutes of the game or so. But a really good finish by Neil so far is the difference between the two sides. We've seen that Eastleigh have had a couple of chances and not made them count. But with 10 minutes to go, anything can still happen. And it's Eastleigh with another throw-in down the right-hand side. They go long into the box, and the goalkeeper comes out, Roberts, and claims it very nicely. Back on loan from Derby County, Roberts, which is really good. He did really well for us last season. Comes back and does that again. McJanet wins the header and puts it off to Salam. Mundell on the overlap down the left-hand side, crosses the ball in, and we get a chance, and McJanet puts it straight at the goalkeeper, and he parries it out for a corner kick. And so we get a corner kick on that far side. Casey, left-footed, into the box, but it's partially cleared, and then they're going to get it well cleared by Slater, picking up the ball on the left-hand side and moving it on again for Eastleigh, calming down the play again. And then we lose the highlight, and so they didn't quite manage to do anything with it again, which is positive for us. We might just about get away with this one, having been a little bit slow to start. And Casey into Salam on the left-hand side for a throw-in, but Salam is pushed off the ball, and they get a really good attacking counter-attack. House on through on goal, and Alfie Roberts parries the ball again. And is there an offside decision there? There might have been, but it doesn't matter. The shot goes wide anyway. And the goalkeeper comes to our rescue at that point, and we do get through to full-time, and just about squeeze out a win in the first game of the season, which is a great 3 points to get, but not quite the best performance. But it was away from home with a bunch of new players, so ultimately I think we'll take it. We're not going to overanalyze that particular performance. There wasn't a lot to look at, and we've done a lot of talking with the transfers and stuff today, so we're going to basically leave it there. So we'll just go into the team talk, outstretched arms. Well done, lads. Good win for us. Try and build up the confidence and the motivation to keep moving forward, and then we're going to go back in to the schedule page and just check out what is the next step for us in this particular campaign in the Vanarama National League. Excuse me. So here we are back in the schedule page just to check out what's coming up now. I've got a really weird feeling, having just sat here and thought about the episode that I've just been partly recording, and I think I might have got Ebbsfleet and Eastleigh mixed up a couple of occasions. We were playing Eastleigh, not Ebbsfleet. We got a decent enough 1-0 win. Ebbsfleet were due to finish in about 9th for this season's preview. Eastleigh in about sort of 17th or something, so not as good. So a little bit of a mix-up on my part. We'll call it early season and not quite sure who's who. But we played, we've got Ebbsfleet to come. We played Eastleigh today. I don't know how many times I made that mistake through the episode, but I think I made it 1 or 2 times at least. Anyway, let's move on from that, shall we? So we've got a load of games coming up in the month of October just to get this league started. My mind has gone completely blank now to mush. Anyway, we're going to come back to the game against Hartlepool at the end of the month and just check in at that point with how well we've done through the early stages of the season and play Hartlepool at home, which will be a good game for us. And they're always a decent opposition, aren't they, at this level in the Vanarama National League. So that's what we're going to come back to. For this particular episode, though, I think the friendlies have gone magnificently well. We've played that first game in the league and got 3 points. We currently sit in 7th place because of it. And that's going to do it for today. I feel a little bit kind of dumbstruck with how many times I might have made the mistake of who we've been playing. But other than that, it's gone pretty well, really, for a first episode. Lots and lots of good transfers to talk through, a new tactic that I think will work out for us in the long run, and plenty of points to come, but 3 points already on the table. That's going to do it for today. Thank you for joining me for this new season in the From Hope to Glory series. I hope we're going to have a great time together. Till next episode, though, thank you for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and join my United City community. The more the merrier. Click that like button for me. Helps me get seen by lots of other people and shows me that you're engaged in the content. Until next time, though, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.